Look at that storm we got coming in. Looks like it should be pretty nasty, if we get anything anyway. Okay, so the Bronco, yes, we're all getting tired of the Bronco. I'm going to do an instructional video on how to do an oil change. So we'll see how this goes. I'm pretty good at it. Okay, so the first things that you need are your supplies, obviously. Got Motorcraft oil filter here, and I've got my funnel, and I've got my Lucas, which I stand by, and then I've got my Valvoline, which I stand by. Next, a couple ways you can do it. You can leave your oil cap on until you get the oil changed finished. Well, until actually you're ready to put your oil in, but sometimes you can take it off or crack it loose before, you know, to kind of help with the flow of the oil, I guess. Some people say you can do that anyway. One thing that you can also always do is look at your oil cap on the insides and see how it looks. Sometimes it can give you an idea of if you've got corrosion buildup like what we've got here, or it could also help in diagnosing any other potential problems you may have, like a blown head gasket or something of that nature. After you've located your oil cap, you always want to locate your dipstick. You know, make sure it pulls out or whatever you want to do there. You need your tools to do the job, and I haven't done an oil change on this Bronco yet, so I just brought a few different wrenches that I know are common. Your rags, these are just blue towels, and then gloves are always helpful, and if you've got a real tight oil filter, filter wrench. But I don't have a filter wrench. I always just, you know, wrench it off with my own hand. Another really important thing you need is your pan that you're going to drain your oil out into. Okay, so now that we've crawled underneath, I've located my drain plug and my oil filter, which are both really easily accessible. Sometimes they are not. Your next step is to crack your drain plug loose. Sometimes all it takes is just a little tap with your hand, or if you've only got one hand, just kind of push on it, I guess, with your other hand. I don't know how to explain it, but you just pull your drain plug out. One thing that's really important too is if you do an oil change on a cold engine, it's not going to be as effective as if you do it on a warm engine, because of all the crap that builds up in the bottom of your pan. Got to get my pan relocated here. Get it turned sideways, actually. There we go. And she's draining, and that oil is disgusting. And you want to let your oil drain until, usually you want to let it drain until it's just a drip. That ensures that you get all the extra crap out of the engine, out of the oil pan anyway. And this one's still draining. And due to the fact that storm is coming in pretty quick, we're gonna leave it like it is right here. Now I messed up. I went off and dropped my drain plug in the sand, so I'm trying to rinse it off here. May have to get my WD-40 though. I got it cleaned up good enough. It ain't gonna hurt anything. You want to be able to screw your drain plug all the way back in till it's hand tight with your hand, and then you take your ratchet or your wrench, or even if you've got a torque wrench, tighten that dude down. If you don't have a torque wrench, or you don't know what a torque wrench is or what torque specifications are, then you can just get it good old redneck term, good and tight. But you don't want it too tight. I think this drain plug's about had it. It's a little rounded off on top there. Anyway, that's good enough, good and tight. So now we'll do the filter. Now I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but this filter is just disgusting. Your oil should not, the oil still comes out good. It's not all clumpy, but man, that thing has been in there for a while. That's a pretty nasty filter. Next thing that you want to do when you have your new oil filter is get your new oil. Try and get a dab here. You always want to use new oil and prime your gasket, and that creates a seal. Helps that filter seal better and makes it less likely to leak throughout the duration of the oil change. Usually, if you can, you want to take a rag and wipe down the base where the new oil filter goes, but we're going to skip that step. We're going to go on ahead and get this new oil filter up. And we've got the new oil filter in. Wipe it down, make sure it's tight. It's good. Boy, isn't that a pretty sunset. And that means our storm is still brewing. We're good. So we've got our funnel installed. We're ready to pour in the Lucas first. Now the thing about this Lucas is it pours like honey. It is some thick stuff, which is a little bit of a disadvantage to us because I am running out of daylight. Once we got our Lucas poured in, going ahead and dump our oil in. Getting a little too fast there. Splashing it everywhere. Okay, we've got our oil in it and ready to do a startup here. When you do the startup, you want to let it run until you have adequate oil pressure. And our oil pressure's up. It's a little bit low, but it's up. And what you do at this point, after you've let it run till your oil pressure comes up, you can let it run longer if you want, but then you got to check your oil, see what your top off is. And we are looking about a quart low. So I'll go on ahead and get another quart thrown in her. And we've got our oil at the full line. Didn't check it because I'm running out of time to show you guys, but got the oil cap back on. That's one thing that you always want to remember to do. And look at that, we done beat the sunset. How about that? Now I'm going to let it run and play with it for a little while. Sweet. You know, I suppose I ought to say also, just for the YouTube world, that this video was not an advertisement for Valvoline or Lucas or Ford Motorcraft parts. Those are just what I choose to use. So there you go. That's an awful pretty sunset. Man, look at that. We got a storm coming up. That is just pretty stuff. Cool. Looks like a little tornado. Huh.